Hello, one and all. It's my view of My Hero Academia, Chapter 354, Oopsie Daisy. And, it kind of seems like Jiro and Tokoyami might, die, because they popped up out of nowhere and said, hey, why don't we fight against All For One, the most terrifying evil villain in all of existence? What could go wrong? A lot could go freaking wrong. I mean, they probably won't die, but the chance is certainly there. I mean, I will say Jiro, she can attack from long distances, which is helpful when fighting against All For One, who could steal her quirk if he manages to touch her. But Tokoyami, I mean, yes, I guess he can fly, but probably not as fast as Hawks or All For One, so that gives him a disadvantage. And I mean, while Dark Shadow is an incredibly powerful quirk, he can't actually unleash its full power while it's, daytime. So unless this fight goes on for a very long time, or if they have somebody in the crowd who can turn day into nights, we aren't going to see, the full force of Dark Shadow facing off against All For One, as amazing as that would be. Though that does actually raise the question, if Dark Shadow were to unleash its full force and, basically punch All For One, would All For One be able to steal the quirk by touching Dark Shadow, or would he need to touch Tokoyami himself? I'm not sure about that, and as I was trying to figure that out, I had another thought. What exactly is Dark Shadow? Because when Tokoyami was first introduced back at the start of the series, I'm like, oh, that's cool. His quirk lets him control his shadow, but that's not the case at all. His quirk, Dark Shadow, is a fully sentient living being separate from Tokoyami, so what's the deal here? I mean, we've seen a lot of quirks in the series, and with the exception of that bird guy from the last movie, there's been no one else in this series whose quirk has been a living sentient creature. And that makes sense because, it's recently been revealed that quirks are, in a sense, alive already. They contain a person's will, their soul, a copy of themselves, which can be transferred to other people. So how does Tokoyami have a quirk that has essentially a different soul than he does? Did something happen that caused the two of them to become misaligned, out of sync, or originally were they one single entity but then they split apart for some reason? I mean, that would make some sense. Or is Dark Shadow even his quirk at all? I mean, if I want to go, really dark, insane conspiracy theory here, what if Dark Shadow was essentially his twin brother, but in the womb, when he took on his shadow form, when his quirk activated, he essentially died and grafted himself onto his twin brother, onto Tokoyami, so therefore Dark Shadow isn't actually Tokoyami's quirk, but rather the quirk of essentially his dead brother? Oh wow, that sounded crazy. That sounded, next level crazy. And while I don't necessarily believe that theory to be true, I do think All For One is going to have some questions about Dark Shadow because, he is a quirk connoisseur. He enjoys studying and researching quirks, so I feel like he's going to want to wonder, hey, dude, what's the deal with your quirk? Why is it alive and talking to you? That's not normal. I know quirks, and that is not normal. At the very least, I think it's be a great chance to get some background on Tokoyami and Dark Shadow because, I mean, let's not forget, when, it becomes dark, when it becomes nighttime, and when Tokoyami loses control, Dark Shadow is one of the most terrifying quirks in this entire series. So what was that like for him growing up when the quirk first developed? Is he afraid of the dark? Was he afraid of the dark? Does he have to sleep the lights on? Because if he doesn't, then maybe he'll have a nightmare and Dark Shadow will break free and destroy everything within, several blocks of him. I want so much information about his background. I'm really hoping next chapter, the one after that, we actually get some flashbacks that fill it in. I mean, All For One did a fairly good job of pushing Endeavor's buttons this chapter, and I feel like he's going to try doing that to Tokoyami next chapter, which would be interesting because it's been said many times that when Tokoyami loses control of his emotions, he loses control of Dark Shadows, so it could end up going feral on him even in the daylight, and I would so love to see that. Seriously, Dark Shadow's full strength is such an amazing part of this series. Last time we saw it, it was able to push back freaking Redestro. And while the dude's legs broke, his mechanical legs broke before his body did, it was basically at the same strength level as him. Oh, that was amazing. That was so amazing. But anyway though, while I'm talking about classmates dying, there's something else I wanted to bring up. In my last video, I was really confused about what exactly Ida's role would be in this big final battle, because it seems like, the fight was basically over. What would he do? And then someone commented down below that Ida would probably end up dying. He's gonna, try and pick up Dabi before he self-destructs and run as fast and as far as he can to push him away from the people to save everyone. And that just seemed really, really unlikely to me. I mean, Ida is a fairly important character. I couldn't see the author just killing him off like that, but then this person reminded me of something else very important. Back when Ida was first introduced in the series, he was an awful person. He was a truly, truly awful person. I mean, during the UA entrance exam, he saw Deku laying on the ground, about to be crushed by a giant robot, and he just still kept running. I mean, so did a lot of other people, but I don't think any of them actually passed the test and made it into UA anyway, so they don't matter. But and after that, he just kept convincing himself over and over again, oh, if it wasn't a test, I would have stepped in, I would have saved him, I would have done the heroic thing, but that's not the case at all, because Ida, at the start of the series, all the way up till the Stain arc, was not a hero. He didn't have it in him to be a hero. He didn't have that natural desire that All Might said all heroes have to go rushing in head first to save people. Even when it came to facing off against Stain, his first and only thought was about trying to kill Stain, trying to get revenge for his brother's injury rather than trying to save Native, the pro-hero who Stain was about to murder. So Ida, basically sacrificing himself, Ida rushing headfirst into danger and saving everyone else would be a fairly good way to end his character arc, to see him, leave this series. I mean, it'd be heartbreaking, I'd be really upset by it, but it would feel appropriate to me, so I guess we'll see what happens with that whenever we finally get back to Dabi. Though I guess it is also possible that Ida will rush off Dabi trying to sacrifice himself to save everyone else, only for a third party to intervene and save him. Because I've been speculating for a while this fight's gonna have a second act. Just as it seems like all hope is lost, like the heroes have been defeated, the villains are gonna emerge victorious, help will arrive, backup will arrive, Koyuchi and Knuckle Duster from Vigilantes, maybe even pop as well, Rappa... Stain! Oh my god, above. If Stain showed up and saved Ida's life, that'd be amazing. It'd be so amazing. Especially if Stain said something like, well, I guess you're a real hero now, kid. You really live up to the name Ingenium. Oh, I would love that. I would so love it. Ida and Stain teaming up to take down villains. That would just be the greatest moment in this series. And while I think Ida would definitely have problems, fighting alongside Stain, I think it would also make a lot of sense for, his growth in the series to prioritize the people, to prioritize the bigger threat, the villains, and saving everyone rather than getting his revenge against Stain. Oh, God. I want that to happen. I so badly want that to happen. But anyway, though, back to this chapter, it's revealed that Hawk's Endeavor's big plan to take down All For One is to break his life support system, and then hopefully he'll die! Yay! Though honestly, knowing how sadistic and plotting All For One is, I wouldn't be surprised if he doesn't actually need his life support system at all, and he's just been, carrying it around this entire time, basically to trick people into thinking he needs it, so he can laugh and say, haha, you thought I needed it, but I was just messing with you this entire time. That is certainly something he would do, honestly. And the plan seems to be going surprisingly well, despite the fact that Hawks was crippled by Dabi burning off most of his feathers, and the fact that Endeavor is really angry right now. They're still managing to, basically push All For One into a corner, until All For One reveals, hey, you ever wondered why you never found your son's body? And that breaks him. That utterly and completely breaks Endeavor, which seriously, at no point any of you think, hey, wait a minute, why exactly did Dabi not die in the fire? What exactly happened to him after all of that? I feel like at some point during the planning, someone should have said, hey, Endeavor, just so you know, there's a fairly good chance that All For One is to blame for your son becoming a villain, and he's probably going to try and use that to manipulate you. I mean, I feel like All Might would have seen that coming and tried to warn Endeavor, but nope. Endeavor is totally and completely shocked by this news and just starts screaming and charging head forward, and as a result, he gets punished. He gets very badly punished as All For One manages to take out a rather significant chunk of his side and sends him hurtling to the ground. Oh, poor Endeavor. Poor Endeavor. And I really do love Hawk's evaluation that there is no way Endeavor could have defeated Dabi because, yeah, he's right. He is really right. I mean, I assumed that the reason why Endeavor was here fighting off against All For One was because they needed their biggest powerhouse here in this battle, but no. It's because against Dabi, he would have lost. He would have failed. His heart would have given out. He wouldn't have been able to deliver the finishing blow. He wouldn't have been able to fight with all his might, and he would have died. So instead, they had him fight against All For One because that was somehow safer. Oh my god, it actually was. Yeah, fighting against All For One was safer than him fighting his own son. Oh, that's terrifying. That's so terrifying. Also do love that All For One refers to Hawks as Lady Nagant's replacement. I mean, it doesn't actually seem to affect him all that much because he's more focused on Endeavor, but I feel like that'd be, a fairly impactful thing to say to Hawks. I have so many questions about his relationship with Lady Gaunt. Oh, also, I think Lady Gaunt's going to show up in this fight at some point. I mean, she was pretty badly wounded after All For One blew her up, but I still think she's going to be the backup in one of these battles somewhere, somehow. But anyway, though, speaking of backup, Jiro and Tokoyami arrive and save the day! Yay! I mean, like I said before, they are facing off against a really, really serious threat, and their chances of dying are not zero, so this could end badly. Also, they don't seem to be taking this all too seriously, as Tokoyami, one of the most serious people in Class 1A, says, "If you don't mind, keep your rear end still, or risk flustering me." Seriously, dude? Seriously, that's your complaint here? You don't want her to fluster you? Just God above, that was hilarious. That was so hilarious. I love that. And also just another thing I freaking love is the fact the Hawks refers to Jiro as that Class A girl. Seriously, he doesn't even know the name of the people he's fighting alongside. That is beautiful. That is so utterly, utterly beautiful, and I love it. And then, All For One decides to start monologuing because, he is a villain about how, oh, Jiro and Tokoyami are just jobbers, characters who exist only to be killed by the Demon Lord to show his true power and how dangerous a threat he really is. To which Jiro responds quite confidently, how about you say that line until you've actually beaten us, All For One? Oh my god, it takes, a lot of confidence to say that to the freaking Demon Lord. I mean, Jiro's certainly sweating, but she's got a big smile on her face, and she's ready for this battle. Even if, like I said many, many times, it can end very, very badly for her. But please, let me know what you think about all this down below. How is this fight gonna go? Jiro and Tokoyami and Hawks versus All For One? I'm gonna assume poorly. I'm gonna assume very, very poorly. Though my guess is they're really just buying time until Endeavor can cauterize his wound, calm himself down, and get back into the fight, and take down All For One once and for all. Huzzah! Then what happens next? I mean, there's still a lot of other fights happening at the same time as this one. How are they going to go? Do you think there's actually going to be a second round where backup arrives from around the world, from all corners? I would so love to see that. Do you think Davi's going to self-destruct and Ida's going to need to basically sacrifice himself to save everyone around him? I mean, again, I'd be very heartbroken to see Ida die, but going out that way would just be so appropriate for his character. But let me know down below. Be sure to like and subscribe so you don't miss my next video. And until then, peace!